Hey guys, it's David here with BeckerArt, and we're here tonight to do a wonderful little scene. You know how much I love doing boat scenes, so this will be a fun one. And I'm going to show you how to do a couple things with seagulls, and we're going to also be doing, what do they call that? The sunshine, the optical scatter, it's called. And so we're going to do optical scatter. But first off, we gotta, and this will be the last one of the series of that I got at Aldi's because I had 4 different ones, and so this was a pear one. This is the pear cider, and so this is from Aldi's, the Wicked Grove, and last 2 were 10s, 10 paintbrushes, and so I got a feeling this one will be the same because they are very good. This one's a pear. This is a pear one, and look at that, too much ice, I think. So you're going to see a couple of different things like the work behind me. We're trying to change things up a little bit here on our with our paint stuff because I'm trying to get more people to sign up for the subscription to the paint part or to the paint alongs. So cheers everybody! Pear Wicked things from Aldi's, and so they're really good. And this is just, man, this is the better. This is even better. This is good. This is very good. Cheers, everybody. I'm going to give it a 10 paintbrush. All right. And so let's get going here. And so let me just show you first off. Boy, look at all you people here. You like boats as much as I do? Hey, Maria, Barbie, Barbara, Tina, Lynn, Carol, and Sue, and Jean. This is going to be a fun one tonight, Jean. And so let's just go to our webpage. And so my webpage is davidrbecker.com or beckerart.net, one of the two. And that's where you get it. Anybody new here, just where you download everything and what my Sunday demo is and all that stuff, all right? And so, and to get your recommended products, I wanted to just show you this because a lot of people don't realize they're always asking me, oh, what was that product you used? Most of the ones are on here. I may have to put a couple of extra on there, but they're on my recommended products page, which is right there. You can see it right there. And here's where you can go to my YouTube channel right there. And so you go down here and is where you sign up for my newsletter. All right, so supplies. My supplies are Holbein watercolors, and they are the brushes I use and the Stonehenge paper. Tonight we are not using Stonehenge paper. We're using a panel, which is almost hot press, a crescent, almost hot press piece of paper, or board, I mean. So that's all I had right at the moment, and so we're going to use that. And here's our value study. And so our value study, it's pretty, it's intense, and I didn't do it quite as intensely as, let me get my painting here. So the one you're going to see that I did in class, and so the one I did in class wasn't quite as contrasty as I wanted it to be. I'm going to try to make it a little bit darker, but I showed the students that you don't have to make it quite as dark as this, but I do like the fact that the light down the let me use my arrow here, like down here, the lighting right there. I could have put masking fluid down there, and I like how dark the water could be, and then you can get that to really shine. And I really want to get the sunlight a little bit better. And if the darker you make the clouds and the darker you make the boat, the shinier the sky will look, right? And so we're going to try to do that a little bit more than what you're going to see in a second. And what a great pattern too. Look at I like the fact that I'm going to put some birds in there into the light area, which I didn't do because I didn't do the dark cloud, the clouds dark enough, and so I'm going to make them a little bit lighter, and so we'll do that. All right, and let's go to our tabletop, and I'll show you what I just did. So here's what I did, and like you can see, I also changed my pattern around a little bit so that I make my paintings bigger now, so you can see them a little bit larger than they were, and I'm making my palette smaller because I don't think my palette is that important that it's the whole half side of the paper. So I'm just thinking that by seeing the picture larger, it'll be better for you guys. I know it took me like how many years to do this, but hey, better late than never. And so here's what I did, and the boat is dark enough, but the clouds, I think if I make them a little bit darker, that would be great. Hello, Gary, or Gray Cat. Hey, David, missed the live season last week. Picked it up on the weekend. Last weekend, I also watched your Autumn Lantern. Learned so much. Well, thank you, Robbie. And so this is what we're going to do. A little bit lighter or a little bit darker on the clouds. I want to get a little bit darker on the clouds. And I'm going to try to make it a little bit more soft edges, the clouds, because I painted around them hard edged. And so I think I'm going to start a little bit differently. I'm going to try to see if I can't get some of this white to be soft edged. And so that means wetting everything. And so that's going to be a little bit different. Am I on new equipment? I don't know. I'm not on new equipment, but I was changing everything around, so it probably made a little bit difference in how, because I was doing a demonstration for a club in Detroit, and I switched everything around to make it a little bit different because my screen of the painting just seemed so small. And when I saw a couple other people's stuff, I'm thinking, I got to get my paintings bigger for you guys to see. I still got to get my lighting a little bit better, but I think we're getting there. All right, and so let's get started. And so what I would do is I will do my lights, again like always, but BeckerArt 3-step. We're going to do our lights first. Let me skip this ad so you can see. All right. And so I'm going to wet everything. Yeah, I'm going to wet everything. Oh, except for my, where the sun is going to be. I'm going to go around the sun right here. The sun is going to be right there. So I'm going to wet everything except for the sun. And this is kind of hot pressed, this paper, or this board. And so there's not much texture on this. So it's going to be a little bit harder to get like rough edges. But that's okay. I actually like that a little bit more anyways. So I'm wetting everything thoroughly. And so it'll soak into the board a little bit. And it's crescent. It's a crescent board. And they sell them in packages like this. I'll show you. They sell them in packages like this. It's called crescent board. Crescent watercolor board, carton aquarelle. So this is a 16 or 12 by 16, bigger than I'm working the quarter sheet. This is 11 by 14, so that I can get a frame for that. Actually, I can put it in a frame right after I get done and show you. And so now see how it's just resting there? And so I'm going to start with the lightest part, and that would be the sun, right? And so I'm going to go into my yellow. I have two yellows here, and I think one's Hansa and one's permanent yellow light. And it's to me it's too vibrant, and so I put a little white into the yellow too. Somebody just had a yellow in my class the other day that was really good, and I got to ask her again what the color was because it looked really neat. So I'm going to go in here, and everything's wet, so I'm going to get a soft edge right now, except for this part I didn't wet. And the boat is not there yet. Just pretend like the boat is not there yet. It doesn't have to be there yet. Just going to go over this and wet everything nicely. And then just put things from this area. You can make it darker and darker and get into the orange. And so then I'm going to pick up some orange, some yellow orange. And so I'll put that down here because there's a really nice glow right into the water, And we're going to keep that wet, keep that nice and wet. And so we're going to put that like that. Now on a board, I don't tape things down, right? We never tape things down anymore. But sometimes when it puddles on the edge, just go off the edge. Just take it off the edge so that you don't have water coming back in on that side. And then this part is really light yellow. And then it goes into a little bit of there's kind of a green there. It is light blue, but I'm going to use lavender because that with orange will turn a little bit like gray and it won't turn green. But there's a little green. A lot of times in a sunset, there's a little bit of green right there. And so, and this is again hard. This is like hot press, so I'm going to be getting a lot of smooth. It'll be very smooth because there's no texture on the paper. I'm going to make it a little bit more orange down here. So I can get a really nice, beautiful orange, because when it dries, it'll be lighter than that. But I'm just going to kind of let it float in the pigment. And then over here, it goes up a little bit higher. And always, one thing about boards, when you're using board, you got to watch it because it does dry faster. So I'm going to spray it up here a little bit with my mister. Just going to spray it real lightly. Keep it wet, keeping it wet. Oop, don't let that fall. And I'm going to go back with a little bit of lavender. It's going to make kind of a gray, but that's okay because I'm going to go from that to a blue. And I'm not putting red in there like I did this afternoon. I put a little bit too much red, I think, into that. Because this purple going into blue will be a nice change from the yellow to the purple to the blue. And then this cloud, which will be really nice and dark, but it's going to be more yellow over here. So let's do the whole sky first. And we're going to do it so that we're going to use a nice vibrant blue. So I'm going to use ultramarine blue on top here. And also the birds are not there yet either. The birds have not flown in yet. That you can work on that later. Right now I want to get the soft edge of this cloud and let this just soften by itself. The water's going to soften it. I don't have to worry about it being smooth. I'm just going to lay it in 20% darker than I think it should be. Make it darker. It's going to lighten up because I don't have that much pigment in there. And if I miss some of the white rim lighting, I can put that in there later too. I don't have to put it all in right at the get-go, which I kind of want to, but a lot of times you miss it. You can't get everything sometimes in a wash. So I'm just going to put this in here like this. And as it goes down, it gets lighter, right? And so I'm going to take a little bit more water and put that into the purple that I had left down there and kind of go around the area of the cloud that's white. And then I'll be going down here a little farther. It's going to turn a little green, but that's okay. There is a little bit of green in there. And then when I get close to the sun, everything here will be kind of orangey. And also I'm going to use some dark lavender to do my dark part of the cloud. And you really have to get this all done now. There's no going back into the sky later. Get the dark right now. Don't feel that you can go back in there later and re-wet everything really nicely. If you can get the first wash, that's the best. That is absolute best you can do. Is if you can try to get the gray and all this light area with the rim lighting, soft edged while it's wet for the first wash. If you can do that, that's practice it. It's hard. I know it's hard, but just try to see if you can't get things dark enough right away so you don't have to go back in. I even have a hard time with it, really. It's not that easy as it sounds to work it nice and wet and keep it wet and just getting everything you want right away. Now look at how nice and smooth that is, though. You can get that. Now these little white clouds, I can rub those out later when it's dry. I don't have to. You can't do everything at once. It's just too many things to do like this in the sky. So, and I'm going to make this 20% darker than I feel it should be. And as I go down, it's going to get more and more orange. So I'm going to go down here, get some more orange in there. And keep it wet so that it'll, I get the outer edges. And then just get lighter and lighter with your orange. Because right here it's going to be yellow first. And so let me go down there first where it's yellow by the sun here. And I'm just going to kind of, it's already dried almost. I'm not going to get a super soft edge there. And again, there is some light washes in here that I'm going to have to do later and get that with either thick pigment or rub out. Like I said, it's hard to get everything that you want in the wash because you have to kind of work fast. Oh, thanks, Marie, for asking everybody to hit the like button. Another thing you can do besides hitting the like button is in the comment section, not in here in the chat, but in the comment section, ask some questions in there too, because that makes it look like there's people asking questions. Because the chat doesn't help as much as the comments, so that other people can see it besides people who are live right now. So that's another good thing to do. I've been reading up on a bunch of things and how you can make get a little bit more people to watch your channel, and that's one of them. Because afterwards, you can also ask it there too. So ask afterwards too. If you have any questions, just ask away. So now I'm making a darker blue up here, and it's still wet enough that I can float my pigment up here. I'm making this a little bit darker. And I know this looks really dark. It actually looks green right now. I got a green because I used the yellow over the orange. So I'm going to put a little bit more blue in there. Because you can still drop color into the area if it's wet. It'll just blend together automatically. I'm going to use a little bit of the red orange and put that in here too, because it's still wet. So I can still, blend things and let things be while it's wet. That's how you get your soft edges, is by doing it wet. Wet in the wet. That's how you get your soft edges. And you notice as I go down here, it's going to get lighter because it's closer to the sun. And this part is too dark. And so I'm going to re-wet this. I'm going to get a watermark, but that's okay. I'm just going to take out some of this paint and put in some more of the light yellow right here, because this is a little bit more vibrant right here. It should be. And then I'm going to put some this is very low contrast, so it's going to give me a watermark because this is kind of dry already. And so that's okay. You can put some of that in there. Now look at here, I made this too wet and not enough pigment. See how that was floating out? Well, since it's still wet, I'm going to take a little bit of the purple, and the reason I'm getting green is because I used quinacridone gold in there recently, and so that's how I'm getting that green there. So let me just put a little bit more lavender and blue up here, and put a little bit more pigment. It's very wet, and so it's bleeding too far for me. And if you want to get some of this to be white again, like the edges, I'm just going to do that afterwards. I'm going to scrub it out or put white paint there. Yes, Robbie. Yes, Robbie. I do have to work faster because it does get dry, as you saw. It gets drier faster. But look at, I can pull things out with a. I'm going to take my round brush. I'm going to wet it, and then make it damp, and then I can take out some of these light areas on the board. That's one thing you can do, though. I can just go in here and just suck up some of the paint. Well, not really. Here a little bit. I can take out some of the paint on the edges, and also in here there's some of it that goes down, and so you can. Don't use paper towel to get this, or like Q-tips or something, because you're taking out the water, and I don't want to take out the water because I want soft edges more than I want hard edge. I can get the hard edges easy with white paint, and so I'm just going to go in here, try to get some soft edges by pulling out some of the paint in this sky. See, in light, I rub off on my towel. I always work on a towel. For anybody new here, I work on a towel because it's nice to not have to carry a piece of paper towel with me. But see, I'm just rubbing it out. I'm pulling the paint back out of the sky. All right, so I'm gonna leave the sky as that, and that's good enough for now. We can go back, like I said. I like using gouache, and I had my gouache palette here. Let me see if I can find it again, because I'm going to maybe use some gouache on top of this. I can't find it right now, so we'll just have to use watercolor. All right, and so this is, I'm going to make this a little bit, and so this white, I have white right here, and if I use that with the yellow, maybe that'll make it a little bit brighter right here, because I wanted to make this a little bit brighter, but not vibrant in yellow. I want it lighter in yellow. And this time I think I got it dark enough, and it's still going to dry though. So, I mean, it looks right now, it looks dark enough, but it's still going to dry. And I can respray this when it's dry and put a few more soft edges in it. So it's not a total, like you can't go back in. You can, but I try not to as much as possible. Now here, the water, I'm going to wet the front now and do the water. And I don't do the big waves or the small waves first. I go over the whole thing. Let's go with our flat brush. Oh. And like I said, I should have put masking fluid in here for my light, for my sparkling light, but didn't have time, and so I'm just going to put that in with white paint. You can put it in, if you want to put it with the white of the paper, then put in your masking fluid for those dots and the waves. And since this water is pretty dark in my value study, which you see right over here in my black and white, I kind of like to have my black and white in here too, to show you that this area can just be nice and dark and just colorful too. But first I'm going to put the orange down, the red orange, because if I use the yellow orange, then it's going to get too green. And so I'm just going to go in here and get the yellow orange part. The orange part. Because a lot of this is pretty dark, and I put a little purple in that orange, make it kind of brownish. Just going to put that as the underpainting, and I can put that a little bit over here. And again, the boat is not here yet. The boat did not pull into this scene yet. And so we'll get that later. We'll get that later. This is all wet now, so you get all soft edges. And then I'm going to work the softness of the waves first, like the big waves. And then I'll go in there little by little and get the soft wave or the small waves. And so this side is a little bit bluer. And so I am going to take like the ultramarine again. Whatever I had in the sky, I want to put down here too. And so I'm going to try to make it a little bit lighter. Maybe a little bit of this horizon blue in there. And this is orange and blue put together. So what do you get when you mix complements? You get either a brown or a gray. But that's okay if you just let them meld themselves together. They'll just come out perfectly fine. They'll be totally fine. And I'm getting the lighter colors first. That is the light part, right? And so I'm putting that in there first. A little bit orange over here. And because it's not, well, let's make it a little bit darker than that. But see, I'm getting the lights first. This is the lights and a little bit of my middle tone at the same time. So step one is the lights, right? And so I got that all pretty much done now. And I'm going to my large mediums, which was this cloud. It was a medium. Now this down part, in my value study, it looks really dark, but I don't have to go that dark. But I will make it a little bit darker than this for the first wash, and then the waves will be the dark parts, right? The waves, the hard edge waves will be the dark part. So first I'm going to get the overall darkness to it. And again, this dries so fast. It's amazing how fast it dries on a board, especially hot press. This is like hot press. It doesn't have much texture at all. And so again, a little bit blue over here, a little bit darker. And it's going to dry 20% lighter. And you notice when I go off the board, I have to go off. If I go like this, it's picking up water on the edge of the thing and then hitting right there. So make sure you go off the page like this, so it doesn't leave a little thing. Though it's gonna be framed, and so there's a 1/4 inch that you're not gonna see anyways. But I like to just you gotta go the direction off the page like that, and then this side goes this way. I'm just gonna let that be together. Now what I can do too is, since the sun is right here, I'm gonna make this a little bit lighter right here by just taking, well, actually I'm gonna make it darker first, and make little lines in here to give it a little bit more texture right there. And then maybe a little bit darker reddish violet. Let's see, the reddish or pink violet, a little lavender, and the orange, and then just put this a little bit darker. And now I can also make like little waves, but it seems like I'm taking out paint when I'm doing that. So let's just make enough paint on your brush so that it leaves it onto the paper and not taking it out. Now this is way too orange on the edge here, so I'm going to take that blue again and just put the blue in there. And I don't have any water in my brush, because if I have water in my brush, it's going to push away the pigment. So I'm just using pure pigment. See, I'm just going in there, get some pure pigment. My brush is damp, but see how it's not wet? It's damp. And I'm just going to go in here and lay down the wash over top of this, leaving a little bit of the waves, right? And on this side, I'm going to pick up a little bit of the orange and do the waves in orange a little bit right here. This is still wet, so you're going to get soft edges, but because I don't have much water in my brush, I'm going to be getting it not so soft edge, because it's a little bit more pigment than water. And it's starting to dry, and so I'm not going to get as much floatiness happening in my painting, if that's a word, floatiness. and so let's just put that little texture in there. And now what I do want to do is I want to take out. See, my brush is kind of looking like really ragged because I took the water out. But what I can do is I can pick up some of the pigment by just rubbing it across. And actually, I gotta wipe it out because there's some residue left of the paint that I have there. And so I can pull out right by where the sun is coming. I don't want to pull out too much because I want to have dots in there that I want for the sun to reflect as a reflection in the water. All right, and then there's a wave that it looks like it's white, and so it would be the light blue in there. I'm going to take a little bit of this horizon blue, a little ultramarine blue, and I'm going to make this the little part of the I can go into the boat because the boat's darker, but right here is going to be the little wave that's caused by the boat running through the water, and I'm take it right out the back. And it's kind of wet. It's almost too wet, so I'm going to get a watermark. Like I can tell right away when I get a watermark. So what I do is I go in here, rub off my brush, like on my towel, and then pick up pure pigment. And then put the pure pigment right on top there to suck up the water. You know, because the water is just going to bleed all over if I don't put some sand, some colored sand, which is paint. I don't put that. If I put that in there, it'll block it from running too far. Because then I can. I know it's really light blue, but don't worry about that. We can change that later, or just right now we can just put a little bit darker blue in there. I just needed to get the blue in there and get some more pigment in there because it was starting to run. Because it was wetter than the paper was, and so I'm just going to take that like that. And this will all be good because I'm going to go darker over that. So we're not to our dark details yet. We're on our big areas of medium and dark, right? I also noticed that if I promote my my YouTube channel on Facebook and Instagram, that they do not push it out for me because I'm trying to get you to go away from Facebook and Instagram, and then so I'm not gonna ever say YouTube anymore when I'm posting, and I'm not putting in a link. I will just put in U, like the letter U, and then tube, so it doesn't know that I'm going to YouTube. So it's amazing how I sometimes I'll post stuff and nobody gets it. Like they don't push it out because it's Facebook doesn't want you to go to YouTube and go away from Facebook. I was thinking one day to do these also on Facebook at the same time, but then you lose clarity in your video. And so I know there's some people that do it on Facebook and YouTube at the same time, but I'm staying away from that because it does degrade the image a little bit. And there's a train. All right, so there's my big mediums. Now I'm going to go to my large dark, and that's the boat. And so I'm just going to take. I am going to take a smaller brush because I have to draw a little bit. So I like to take a brush that's a round brush so I can draw more. I'm going to take a nice dark, and you got to decide what this color this boat is. And I'm going to make it a dark red, like maybe a brownish, maybe a alizarin right here. I have alizarin, and I'm just going to start in the front here. And this is dry now, so, and it isn't dry right here where I just put that blue in there, but that's okay. I want it to be soft edge anyways. I'll make it a kind of a bumpy line. I'm going to just wet it with a lot of pigment. And this part right here is supposed to be light, but I can rub that out. And I'd rather make it really dark at first and then work with the water and just start working with it wet in the wet. So I'm getting this is wet, and so that'll be nice. And so I make it kind of a burgundy boat. And the edges are what's important right now. The edge of the boat shows what the shape of the boat is, right? And so that has to be hard edged. Just following the picture. And now I can do maybe the boards. I can go like this and make it look like there's boards in there. And then I'm going to take some blue. And on the top part of this is a little bit different. If you look at the boat, there's a white strip right on top here. But I'm not going to make it white, but I will make it blue. Like I'll take some blue and put it on the top there. And maybe use some light blue in there too. And it's wet, so it'll float. And see, you don't see much of it. You just see a little bit of that, the fact that it's a different color. It's still dark, but it'll be a different color, so it'll look like it's in shadow. And it'll look like a shadow of white. Because anything can be, when it's white, it can be any color to make the shadow. I'm just going to use a blue because that's what I have down here for the water too. And I'll put like the lines and stuff later on. I'll put like lines that indicate that it's wood paneling or like a wooden boat, and so that's, see, I got a nice soft edges. Now I'll do my nervous twitch, the BeckerArt nervous twitch, so you can get a little bit like the water on there. And then I'm going to wait to get the reflections in the water. That's like detail. Now I can get the cabin, and this is where it starts getting tricky because, and I'm going to show you how to do optical scatter. Because right here by the sun is where everything's going to be orange. So I'm just going to pick up pure orange. I'm going to do really light right by the sun. I'm just going to, and it also burns out the image because the sun is so bright, it puts like a nick into the boat. And so I'm just going to go like the sun is right there, and then it's going to be a little rounded, and you don't see that part of the boat because it's so bright that it carves it out. You can't see that. And then also the mast right there, the mast, that you can make orange too. So you just start with orange first, and then go from there. Really quickly, you go to a nice dark color. Or yeah, after you get the orange, you just get darker, and then right away you get to a really dark color. And actually, it's the window. The window is still that you can see through it. This one right there. And so I'm putting in the orange, and then these little things on top here, I'm going to just do the right side. So it looks like it's orange, basically. And then you can make them really dark. And then you can make it right away go really dark. Again, I'm going to use the same color I use in the bottom with the blue. So a little bit of dark blue. And I'm just going to do that wet in the wet because it is kind of floaty. I want it to be wet in the wet so it floats and softens itself together. And so right now it's a hard edge because I used a lot of pigment right there. But it will be in a second. Let me just get the windows connected. And I have to look really important that for the outer edge of the boat. Because that's got to look like, the shape of the cab there. The cabin of the boat, or whatever they call that. So then really quickly do this, the outer edge. Also the windows, I'm going to make them, there's 2 windows right here that are really showing, and then these are dark. And then right away put water in there and let them bleed together really quickly right here with water. Let them bleed together with water by themselves. You don't have to blend it, you just need to put water together so that it blends with the water. See how it just blends together? It just put water and it'll blend both together. And then I'm going to put a little bit darker orange right here. And just add water. That's so important to learn. Let the pigment float itself together. You don't need to create the soft edge. It creates it on its own. Now I did change a couple things about this boat because I didn't see where the netting would be. Like it's not up, and so I'm making this big roll. I know that when I was in Maine one time, I saw that. Well, that was lobster boats. No, it was in Florida. I saw they have these big nets rolled up back here, and so I'm just going to put it dark right there. Then on the sun there on this side, and then I'm just going to make like a roll, like a round thing that they pull in the netting right there. So I just made that up. I'm just because I paint enough boats to know what some of them look like, and I'm going to put an extra little thing right there, and then these the mast and all this dark little stuff there. That's fun. And so that's the big area, right? That's the big boat. The boat is there now. And now we can just start doing details because there's no more large areas of dark. This is all, yes, the water, look how light it got. And I could have got it darker, but I think it'll be fine when I do the big waves. I'll do the big waves in there. But now I'm going to get to my small brush, a small round, and I'm going to put in these poles. And where's my ruler? I like to use this $1.25 thing from Dollar Tree because it really is nice to just be able to lay it flat on there, but you gotta watch that everything's dry, which it isn't, and so I gotta hold it up above it a little bit. And so I hold it up a little bit. I take my brush and then I just follow along the edge of that. And that's when you want to get a line, a nice hard line. And I'm gonna make these really dark where it needs to be dark now, like all this little stuff in there. I'm just going to make it really dark, and you can use black or black with a color if you want it more colorful, and make this like a little radar and all these little things that are lines. I like to do with a round brush, and I also can use the ruler to keep it nice and straight. Ooh, that's too big. Oh well. Front of the boat has this little thing on the front of the boat. So, and all this little stuff really is important to get all these little all the garbage on the boat because that's all silhouetted, and so that's what makes this painting look so cool is all those little lines, and when you get by the sun, you're gonna make those lines orange, and when you're away from the sun, you just go to a dark really quickly. You can see how it just shines in right there, and so right where the lines are, right in front of the sun. You can use all those lines and make them orange. And so again to the dark. And I used purple there, and I used a nice dark color. I really like the rigger brush. I should be using the rigger brush, but this is okay. And if you have a steady hand, you don't even have to even use the ruler. You can just, you know, depending how loose you are with your paintings and how detailed you are. But see right there, it's all orange, and you just, it kind of blows out that area. Here I'll make it a little bit darker orange to a lighter orange. So this line right here. Don't be afraid of asking questions. Oh, I wanted to tell you guys that I am doing a thing for, I am doing a Zoom workshop for 2 hours for the company called Plaza Art Stores in the East Coast. And last year I did one for 95 people on Zoom, and you sign up for it. I'm going to put a link. I'll put a link in the comments here so that we're looking like we're doing a lot of commenting there. And it's a class, 2 hours, I think, on March 13th on Zoom. I don't know the time exactly yet. I mean, you have to get that later. But $25, and you get all the materials. The Plaza Art Store will send you this box. Let me just show you. You get a box, five gouache colors and 3 Holbein watercolors, and they're good colors. And we're going to do a painting of a lighthouse. And they also send you the paper. They send you the paper too, and a brush, So we'll be all working together, and you can just sign up for that. And last year we had 95 people, so you may have to sign up fast so you get a spot. But I'll let you know. It's a Plaza Art Stores online. I'm not sure if it's plazaart.com. They just posted it. I think they're posting it tomorrow. So I don't have all the information yet. So look for it in the comments of this video, and then also I'm going to put it in next week's newsletter. But I may do a Facebook thing too. So now I'm using my rigger. Yeah, for $25 you get all that supplies. The supplies themselves would cost you that much, actually more. And so for $25 you get the class, plus you get all the materials. They send it to you. They ship it to you. All right, so now I'm doing all the details, right? All the little lines, and get them all in there. I mean, the more the merrier, the better. I mean, these lines are what makes this painting. And these lines I'm doing a really one brush stroke. I go down and I get it done with one brush stroke, and then I'll have like maybe some of these hanging here. And just do all kinds of little dots and all kinds of things that are going all over. And then we're going to have all the seagulls too. So already you see how it's going to look like the silhouette of the boat, and then even this round thing, I'll put a little bit harder edges there. It's detail time, you know, and I know there's a lot of detail in this painting, but that's okay. People should learn how to do detail too. You know, I know a lot of times we do detail pretty quickly and we just don't really spend that much time on it. But it's okay sometimes to spend a lot of time on the detail now. And light and dark. I didn't put down masking fluid, so I'm going to have to put in lights with white paint. But that's okay. If you want to do it without white paint, then you're going to have to do it with masking fluid. Here's the lines of the boat. All right, so now let's get the water. Let's do the water. So I'm going to take my bigger round brush, and I'm going to get these big waves now. And so they're going to be hard-edged, but they will be bluish blue here. So you're going to take some ultramarine blue, and we're just going to go with the big waves first, and they go thin, and push down your brush thicker. You can see that, and then you're going to go thin, thick, thin, thick, thin. Does that make sense? It's you go thin, you make the like a really sharp point, and you just kind of just go in and go thick, or thin, thick, thin, thin, thick, thin. And you're going to do a lot of them. I mean, you have to do a lot of them because that's what you can't skimp on waves if you're trying to make them look like a bunch of waves. You know, you can make them long waves where there's just a few, but I'm going to make a lot of little waves. A lot of waves, and look for the big parts first, like the bigger waves. Like get in there and get the bigger waves and going. And as they go back, they get smaller, of course, right? They get really small, and they also get lighter, really. They get lighter back here, so I'm going to take a little bit of lesser pigment there and just make it a lot of small. And what I'm going to do is leave this right here in the center, leave that light. I'm going to make my wave here. Remember I said I was going to make that a little bit darker? Because that has to be darker and silhouetted. I'm just going to make that silhouetted a little bit darker now. It'll be really dark right where it hits the water, because that's going to be a reflection of the boat. But don't do that yet. First get all your waves in there. Thin, thick, thin. Thin, thick, thin. Even say that when you're doing it. Thin, thick, thin. And I can actually, if I feel like I didn't get enough orange in the beginning, I can put that in later as with the gouache too. I mean, I really like the fact that I can use gouache now, and I don't feel bad about it. I used to be a traditionalist, and where I would use nothing but watercolor, but I like using some of the gouache and making it a little thicker. Makes me feel like I'm doing a little bit of oil painting too at the same time. Now on this side, there's less of these big waves. It seems like there's just very small little waves, but I'm going to make some big waves anyways. Some a little bit bigger. Thin, thick, thin. And what you can do is with your brush, just push it across thin and then push down your brush and then pull it back up like this. Can you see that? Boy, the shadows are terrible. I got to redo this lighting in here. So you go thin, thick, thin. Thin, thick, thin. And this is all hard edged. I'm not doing soft edges right now. I'm just making them hard edged, and they'll look fine. They'll look absolutely fine. And you know, you may have to take some time and do the small ones too. And for that, maybe take the smaller brush when you get to up there to get a little bit more. And you notice I didn't draw anything in for that, because if you start drawing things in, then you're going to have to make sure that you get the exact thing and you get the lines. You can draw them in with the pen, I guess, and use my pen that I talked about, where you're going to erase the pen, but it's just as easy just doing it like this and making them up. See, I'm leaving the middle alone a little bit. And now I'm getting kind of tired of doing these, and so you notice I'm just going quickly. I'm very, I get so impatient. Cheers, everybody. Oh, I got to push the painting up a little bit because you can see the edge. All right, and so that one over here, I'm going to take my small round brush. It's a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to go in here and get the smaller lines now. And then I also use a little bit of orange, I think, up there. I'm going to use a little bit more orange up in this area. And I'm still going to get the reflections into the water yet of the boat. I know there's not much reflections of that because it's really wavy, but you can still put some of them in there. And then I hope you all watched my tutorial on doing the seagulls, so that you know how to do seagulls. I'm going to show you a little bit again how to do them, but I'm hoping you'll watch that so you can see how I simplify the shape of a seagull. You basically do the wings first, and then you just do the teardrop underneath it, and I do have them drawn in though. Like I said, a lot of times I do them without drawing in, but I decided to draw some of these in. So nice little patches of thin, thick, thin. See how small they get back here? You got to think dimension. How can you create dimension in the painting? Bigger down here and also darker down here. These are a little bit darker, so I'm going to go back in and get a few of the ones that now I can tell which ones are how they're laying there. So I'm going to get the dark side of the wave, because these are darks because it's on the front side of the wave. The back side or the flat side is the medium, and then the lights are basically close to the sun, right back there. So the shadow part of the wave is the side that you're seeing, and so that can be a little bit darker. And depending on how small the waves are, it could be really rippled or it could be wider. It all depends. All right, and so I'm going to keep that for there now. What time do we have? Oh, 7:15. We only got 15 minutes left. I'm talking too much. All right, so now these birds. So the ones closer to the sun, we'll do those first because they're going to be orange. They're going to be small, and we're just going to do the wings first, and then a little teardrop, and these are so small, you're just going to do the M or the wings, and you're not going to do much for the body. You're just going to do, this is like you don't even see the body that much, and really small little dashes in here even, because those are so small, the birds, that they're way in a distance. Now these can be, I'm just going to make them dark because it's on top of light. I thought for a second that I would make some light ones in here, but I could do that too still. But let me just go in here, and I'm going to do the wing. You do the wing. And try some of these from my video. Try to do some not on the painting, but just try some in the sketchbook, so you can learn how to do them before you do them on the painting. You don't want to start practicing on your painting. You want to practice on a scratch sheet of paper. And it's basically the wing, and then a little teardrop underneath it. The body, you can do the legs, but this is too small. These are too small to start putting in the beak and the beak and the little leg and the tail. These are just basically the wings. That's how small they are. And put them all in. The more the merrier. When there's boats like that out there, fishing boats, man, they flock around that fishing boat like you wouldn't believe. And there's hundreds of them. I figured that out when I was in Grand Marais. Boy, there was just like birds all over the fishing boats. Now I'm going to use my rigger brush because I'm doing these really small ones. So that's a little bit too big a brush, and so this is an easy brush to do with a rigger. I'm just tracing over my pencil line. So I already have them drawn the way they're supposed to be, so I'm just kind of tracing over doing the brushwork over the pencil lines. And there's a little one, you can see the head, this one, the tail. The wings first, the body, the tail, and then maybe a little leg right there. And I'm not changing the color either. When it comes to different parts of the bird, they're not big enough. They're not close enough. If there was a really close one, then yeah, I would do that. There's one in there that's a really big one right here in the front, but still, it's not close enough to have to be able to put every little piece in there, because then I'd have to make sure that everything in the painting is better than, or thinner than, it's just as detailed as this bird. And we don't need it that detailed. This is the biggest one right there. So that one I can put the leg, but I'm not changing the color for that. And there's a couple of really small birds right here, see? And for that, I just wisp it, a little dot. So the wing is like two parts on both sides. It's like the one part, and then it goes down, and it connects to the body, thin and then thicker. The body. And just make this picture big, and you can see all the birds and how they look, and just copy them really. And again, not on your painting, in a sketchbook. Nice. I'm gonna do a couple of them now really dark blue too, so that I'm gonna go over this one because this one should be a little bit darker and more in the blue and not so much the red. Because some are in the back, some are in the front. They're going to be all different values. Even the body on some of them can be a little bit darker, or underneath the wing. And then you just put some, and again, it depends on how loose you are in your paintings. You don't have to go really tight with your paintings. Yes, Grand Marais, Minnesota. That's every year I've gone there for 5 years now to do their plein air event, and that's where I learned how to do seagulls. Not last year, the year before I learned how to do seagulls. I spent 2 hours painting a painting that David Smith now owns, and I spent 2 hours with those darn birds, and they are loud. My gosh, they were loud, and they had buckets of chum there, you know, of fish parts, and they would fight over them, and oh my god, it was crazy. All right, so we're gonna do this. Look at how many birds I have. I know there's birds sitting on the part of the top here. There's a bird right there. I think that's kind of weird, but I will put some in. Why not? You know, and I put a little bit of that in there too. I just felt this kind of weird to have it have the bird sitting right there. There's a couple birds right here. You can just do a simple M too. I like to group them together a little bit so they're like mashed together a little bit. And again, if they're starting to get a little bit too light, some of these, so I'm going to go back over. And don't be afraid of getting almost, maybe use black there too. So you really want them to stick out because it's a big part of the composition of that. You know, you got the darks coming through there. Some antennas here. See, it's right here. It's too clean for a boat. I'm gonna put a rope hanging over the side here. Lines. And look at how this looks really bright now, right? It looks like the optical scatter, right? And so by putting the birds in front of the clouds too, that's what also gives it. Now these birds right here are just terrible. So I'm gonna rub them out and make it a little bit darker part of the cloud. And now we're gonna go with pure white. And so I'm going to take pure white, and like I said before, always have a little tube of white with you, because the tube of white, or the white in your palette, a lot of times dries up a little bit more than the other colors do, especially with Holbein. But I'm using gouache white now, and I'm just going to put that in here, and I'm using it fresh so I can pick up a lot of it. And I'm going to take my rigger brush and just going to dip into the pure pigment. I'm taking the pure pigment and I'm just going to put in dots, and I'm making them thick. I'm going to make a dot right there. I'm going to follow what I see in the picture, and it's like it rides on top. It rides on top of the wave, and there's a few little dots, you know, and it's right below where the water or the sun is shining, right below there. And water sparkles when it's when the sun is on the thing, it sparkles like little dots. These are like little dots on the waves. And then there's a couple parts that, and see, I'm using pure white, not mixed with anything. It's not, because you should have a mixing white and a pure white. And so I just started doing that because I always use my mixing white, but I never get light enough. It's not there enough to make it really bright. And so this is thick. This is like, it's like oil painting right now. I'm going to do a lot of, just get that in there. Get it shiny and bright. And then also put it on your boat. I'm going to do that on the boat. I'm going to do it on things on the boat here. You know, so it shines through things, and some of this has little lights that's on it. It's metal. It could be on the boat too. You know, things you can see through edges that are catching the light. Because anything that's metal, you know, it'll reflect light. Maybe the post itself right here. Maybe the outer edge of the boat is catching a little light, which it isn't in the photo, but it can do this too. Watch, I'm just going to put a little on the edge right here. Some of these, it can be light. Catch the edge of there. You can always add whatever you'd like. You know, if I know I like putting a little bit of reflection in there and getting into all these little dots and same thing with the part of the boat that is dark. You can put some dark hits in there too with black. Like the one window back here, or the side here, doesn't seem dark enough. The edge of that. And so I'm going to make this edge a little bit darker. And inside, I can make it maybe inside there a little bit darker. Just put a little bit of detail into it. Not sure why I made that light. Or, yeah, didn't do that. Then a little bit of the number or the name of the boat right there. And then there's I noticed there's two little light holes right there, but they're not white. They're like a light blue, right? Because this is still in shadow, so there can be two little light things right there. So I can just use my light blue. Let's put that on there. And this is my opaque. This is opaque watercolor because it's not floating. It's just simply opaque. Oh, I want to get into the clouds too. Watch this. I'm going to put those all. Now this yellow, I'm going to mix it with a little yellow now because I don't want it to be super, super white. I'm going to mix a little yellow with my white to do that around the clouds because they're not solid white up here. And so I'm just going to take white with yellow and rim it a little bit. And up over here in the blue, I can even put little clouds there too. And it's white with yellow. And just smash it in there a little bit. Again, I don't mind using white. Now, if you didn't want to use white, you'd have to do masking fluid for this, and then you still have to soften it a little bit though, because sometimes it gets too bright or too hard edged, and so you need to soften it up a little bit when you're doing that with masking fluid. And that's too white right there, so I mix a little bit of yellow with it. So see, when you mix a little yellow, then it doesn't seem so bright, and you get these nice little effects of the cloud, right? And it is opaque, and I went right over my bird. And then let's put a little bit of the waves in with yellow now too. Watch this. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and white. And I'm going to put a little reflection, because not all of it is white. Some of it is like more of a yellow. Because the sky is reflecting in here, right? So you're doing the tops of the waves. You're putting little yellow marks in there too. And this is on top of the dark. You put this on top of the dark. And it'll give you another section of the wave that's just slightly lighter. And especially right down the center here, that makes it look really bright and shiny, right? Any questions? My uncle lived there and used to have a boat like that. He also had fish store. I'm from Duluth originally. You need to do some North Shore painting in the fall. I have since actually since COVID. I've painted a lot, all the way down the North Shore, all the way from Gooseberry to Temperance to boy, we've painted a lot. I have a lot of paintings from the North Shore. Yeah, my dentist is in Duluth, and it's a long story, but my dentist is in Duluth, so I go to see Erin, my dentist, and she's also a watercolorist, and we go painting. All right. I think we're almost done, right? We're 27, so any more questions? I think that's pretty much it, guys. You can also put, I noticed that some of the birds in here, maybe put some orange in them too. Like put a little bit of orange in them to really brighten them up, and so they're not just black. So take some thick, and this is like gouache, and you can put it by the birds that are closer to the sun. You know, just to have it look a little bit more realistic, like the birds by the sun will be more orange, right? Because it's glowing. It's glowing into the sun. That's the sun right there, so all the stuff will be really orangey right there. Thanks, Sylvia. Thanks for the compliments. In depth, those clouds is amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. And let me just show you when I put it, because now it's on a board, so I can take a nice little plein air frame and put it on it, and you know, and then you have it right there in the frame. Now it's too big for the picture, but let's see, maybe I can go a little bit wider out. Get my thing there. So yeah, see, you can see the little picture there. Now I didn't staple it in, so it's not right against it. So there you have it, framed up. So you get to see what it looks like with a frame on it. Yeah, make it nice and straight. All right, guys, thanks so much for stopping by. And if you're new, you know, and you want to have some questions about your painting and how to do it, and if you want to have critique on it, just put it on my Facebook page. I have a Facebook page that you can sign up for, and you put on there. It's It is private, so nobody else is going to see it for except us. Oh, you know what? I got to do one more thing. I just noticed. I got 1 minute. I forgot to put the reflection into the water of the boat. I know it's not much, but I just totally forgot about it. So I'm just going to put that in there real quickly. I totally forgot about that. So I'm going to take a bright red. 1 minute. Oh, it's 30. That's all right. We're just going to put it in. Take 2 seconds. So you're just going to make that part of the reflection of the boat in the water. See right there, and this wouldn't be sparkling right there because it's the waves are the boat's covering the light. All right, there you have it. Sorry about that. Last minute thing. That's cool. All right, so maybe see you on Sunday. Every Sunday morning, I do a paint along not paint along. I do a demonstration, and it is not quite warm enough yet for me to go outside. But this week, I think it's going to be. I want to do some more. Musicians. I've been doing some musicians before, and I haven't done one in a while, so let's make that a little bit bigger again. And so maybe we'll see you on Sunday. All right. Thanks a lot, guys.